Good afternoon, everybody. I'm weather and radar meteorologist Becca Parker. We're going over the large blizzard event that's happening across the Sierra Nevada today through the end of the weekend. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll give a few minutes or a couple of seconds here for people to join in. We are going over the huge blizzard event happening across the Sierra Nevada. And impacts are already being felt. As you can see behind me, this video footage, this is from our weather reporter, Jonathan Petramala. He's out on the scene in the Sierra Nevada, getting these tapes of the big snow that's coming in, the blizzard effects that we're seeing because the gusty winds. We're seeing winds gust between 65, 75 miles per hour. People spin out on the roadways. This is not an ideal kind of situation you want to be out and about in. So we are going over that today. I mean, you can even see the snow plows are hard at work, moving the snow, getting the icy precipitation off the roadways, but it's going to be like this for the next few days due to the snowfall event as these gusty winds really pick up the heavy snowfall rates between 3 to 5 inches an hour happening here across the Sierra Nevada and the highest elevations as well. I mean, those of you that are not seeing this in the lower elevations, it's happening. It's happening in the higher elevations. A lot of places are not able to have the roads open in the higher elevation, like Donner Pass. Interstate 80 has closed at times due to the big storm event happening here, and people aren't able to travel across this area, and it's very dangerous to travel. So we've got that going on. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the chat of this live view. I will be checking them frequently throughout this live. If you have any questions, it's likely somebody else has the exact same question for this event, right? So we want to make sure we get all that information out to you in a timely manner and that you are able to have that top of mind weather information so that you can share it, or if you need to apply it to your situation. If you're out in this situation right now, you can apply this weather information. And I'll be showing the weather and radar app essentials that you can see as well. You can see people spinning out here on this roadway. It's just amazing what is happening here across the Sierra Nevada as they go across the icy conditions. Alrighty. So I want to talk about what we are seeing so far in the Sierra Nevada, and I'll show you that across the weather radar here. Let me pull that up for you. Here we are. So this is the weather radar look for today. Let's take a look at what it looks like right now across the area. Okay, perfect. Current radar across California right now. We've got some rain activity from this event as the low pressure storm system does push in a lot of moisture off of the Pacific and right into the West Coast. We're seeing even thunderstorm happening here across some of these areas as well. Due to the dynamics of the storm system are pretty impressive, and we're seeing a lot of lightning happening here across these areas too. But the big thing is the snow. Luckily for those of you receiving rainfall, areas could see puddling. We could have a little bit of flash flooding as well, but this is not a huge rainfall event, luckily. So areas that have received a lot of rain throughout the month of February from those atmospheric river events could be, still saturated from all that rainfall. So if you do see heavy rainfall rates, like we are seeing here on the weather radar, the darker colors here, the darker blue, and even the purple indicate heavier rainfall. You can see here just north of Sacramento. The heavier rainfall means that you've got heavier rain rates happening in that area, which means you could see better chances for flash flooding, puddling on the roadways. So just be on the lookout for that if you're out and about today in the lower elevations. But again, like I said earlier, this is mainly a big snow event for the Sierra Nevada. One of the biggest for the 21st century so far, just in the details of how much snow is falling in such a short amount of time. So we are seeing up to, in the highest elevations, 5 to 12 feet of snow. Now think of 12 feet, that's about 2 refrigerators stocked on top, one on top of the other. That's a lot of snow, and that's already on top of the snowfall that's already there in the Sierra Nevada. So buildings could be, blanketed by all this snowfall. Obviously, roadways are being blanketed by this. And emergency crews are having trouble getting around the roadways too, because people are out there trying to travel through. If you're having trouble getting across those roadways, so are emergency personnel. If you have the ability to stay home and not go through this event because it's very dangerous, please take that opportunity. All right. So we do see heavy snowfall happening here across the Sierra, mainly across the northern Sierra right now. The heavier snowfall rates are seen in the darker pink colors here on the weather radar. Here's area around Lake Tahoe, getting up here into Donner Pass area along I-80. And that's what we were looking at earlier with that footage I was showing you from our weather reporter, Jonathan Petramala, out on the scene. That was Donner Pass area across Interstate 80. So I want to show you what we are going to mainly go over today, just so you can be aware of what exactly we're going to be showing today. So the main points of this live forecast is to go over the top hazards from this event. We'll get into the actual forecast, what it's going to look like over the next couple of days. And then we'll go over the app essentials so you can have that at your fingertips. And so you have the latest weather information that you're ready to go. So we'll go over app essentials for that as well. For those of you who don't already have the Weather and Radar app, highly recommend. Go ahead and download that. It's in the description below. You feel free to download it completely for free. And you can get all the information that you're going to need for this event and any other weather event happening in the future. As we go about the rest of the year, we've just hit meteorological spring today, so happy spring, everybody. But we got winter storms still happening here because we have the cold air availability. So let's go into the top hazards. What I'm talking about when I say top hazards is I'm talking about snowfall rates, snowfall totals, the winds, and things like that. So let me transition here for what we're seeing here. I'm going to double check for any questions as we go through. Okay, perfect. So what we are seeing here right now is the potential for 5 to 12 feet of snow in the highest elevations of the Sierra Nevada as we go throughout this winter storm event, the blizzard event. And, again, think of two refrigerators stacked on top of each other. That's 12 feet of snow. And so we see here from the National Weather Service office, we have extreme impacts expected at least through today and tomorrow, late through tomorrow. So that's excessive delays, very dangerous travel, and the kind of communication that's coming out of the Weather Service offices that are in these areas like Sacramento and Reno. They've been very on it from the early this week, issuing those blizzard warnings very early on this week, just to keep you guys prepared for what was coming for this storm system, and talking about the dangerous travel for that's happening across this area. I know it's a weekend, so many of you may have already had ski plans. This is not the weekend to go skiing. Postpone, plan for a later date. You're going to have the snow there for a while after all of the snow has fallen, right? So plan for a later date because there's going to be very, little to no way to get through these mountain passes and the highest peaks, especially because of the dangerous snowfall that's happening here. And when you think of 3 to 5 inches an hour, that's a lot of snow all at once, plus 75-mile-per-hour gusts at least whipping that snow. It's going to be very disorienting and very hard to see while driving. Those of you who have driven through heavy snow before and heavy gusty winds, that's already hard enough. This area, we don't see blizzard warnings happen here across the Sierra Nevada very often because, generally they're getting a lot of snowfall and gusty winds, but not at this extent. So that's why we see these blizzard warnings and why it's more of a rare event for this area. So whiteout conditions, we've got power outage possibilities, and I'll pull up too what the power outages could possibly look like right now. And that means extreme impacts from this storm system, down trees, down power lines, obviously the power outages that come from that. And for those of you, like I said earlier, so those of you who may not already be seeing the snowfall impacts, what that means is you might be very soon. So 3,000 to 5,000 feet are seeing the very large impacts from snowfall currently, and even higher than 5,000 feet, obviously. But that's going to be lowering to lower elevations on Saturday to 1,000 to 2,000 foot elevations. The reason for that is because of the influx of cold air availability at the lower elevations to support this snowfall. So we're going to be seeing that as we go through time, as this storm system does move through. So if you're not seeing it already, you might tomorrow. So you're going to want to pay close attention to where these warnings are. Pay close attention to the weather radar and those app essentials I'm going to show a little bit later too. So the blizzard warning. So we are seeing above 3,000 feet, 1 to 4 feet of snow, and above 5,000 feet, 5 to 10 feet of snow in the northern Sierra. It's a little bit more, up to 12 feet in the central southern Sierras as well. Lots of snowfall happening here across the area. So travel is highly discouraged. That's the communication coming out of the National Weather Service offices. So right here, that's what we are seeing right here. Highly discouraged travel, unless you absolutely have to go through. Just know that there's going to be delays. The timing is going to be thrown off. You have to take it slow. Roads may not even be open. So keep that in mind because this event is so big. So yeah, you really want to keep that in mind. So I'm going to pull up to, in a moment here, let me bring this up. I want to look at the current power outages. Across the area. Actually not doing too bad so far. So that's awesome. So the current amount of customers out across this area is 8,000 customers out. That's, as far as 15 million that are tracked. Doing great so far. That's awesome. So no need to worry too much about power outages at this time, maybe in localized areas. This is not a widespread power outage event at this time. That doesn't mean that later on today or even through the weekend that could happen. So at this time of the video, we're not seeing a widespread power outage event happening at the moment. So like I said earlier, we did also have those, we have the gusty winds happening too. That's why we got the blizzard warning, right? The Sierra Ridges are seeing winds that are more than 100 miles per hour. That's hurricane force gusts across the higher elevations in the Sierra Ridges. Think about that. Think about that, pushing the snowfall that's already coming down, whipping it across. That's going to cause a lot of issues as far as whiteout conditions. And even if you're walking out into the snowfall, everything's white. When you've got those gusty winds whipping that snowfall, that can be very disorienting too. So you don't want to go too far from the doorway or outside at all if you don't need to. And have safety measures in place if you have to be doing that, emergency plan, emergency kits, things like that. Also in your vehicle, emergency kits as well. So those are our top hazards. We got the gusty winds and the heavy snowfall, and that's going to be lasting through the weekend. Peaking today, really, because we have those really heavy snowfall rates, but it's just going to continue. Let me show you that in the forecast. Let's bring up the weather radar to show you exactly what I mean by the rest of the weekend, as we're going to see that come through. Alrighty, let's get back to the weather radar. So you can see my cursor here. I'm going to zoom in on California. We've got the lightning happening here in some of these heavier rainfall areas, and then we got the snowfall happening here in the pink across the higher elevations. So that's what we're taking a look at. Let's look at the rest of today and through tonight as this storm does continue. And actually, let's look at a big view of it first. So I want to point out on the wind radar, which you have access to this right on your weather radar app completely for free. So you can take a look at what impacts are happening across the area and the forecasted impacts through the end of the weekend, even into early next week. We have a low pressure trough, and that's even defined by the winds in the direction that they are coming. You can see coming out of the Gulf of Alaska here, we've got northwest flow coming around a strong low pressure system that is out here churning counterclockwise. This is pushing a lot of Pacific moisture right into the West Coast, and that is what is providing all of that moisture needed for snowfall and heavy rain. This low pressure system also has a front on it that is bringing down really cold northwestern air and gusty winds as well. So those of you who are out and about too, if it's you got some gusty winds happening, it's going to feel a little bit chillier outside than it actually the actual temperature is due to those gusty winds. But we've got temperatures that are going to be cooling this area throughout the rest of today and the rest of the weekend, bringing down all that northwesterly flow, which is cooling those temperatures. This is why areas that are in the lower elevations are going to start seeing those snowfall impacts as the cool air does move in and does move to lower elevations. So higher elevations are seeing it now. Lower elevations are going to see it eventually here as the cool air makes its way in and on its way down closer to the surface. So now that we have that out of the way, let's take a look at what we're seeing throughout the rest of Friday and into the weekend. So you can see even here this defined area of low pressure, and at this counterclockwise circulation is pushing in this moisture in the frontal system into the West Coast. So we got that heavy rainfall happening along the coast, the immediate coastline here. We got some heavy wave activity here right off the coast due to those really gusty winds. And so let's talk about the snowfall. We've got some heavy snowfall rates happening here across the Sierra Nevada starting this afternoon. This is 2 p.m. Pacific, so those of you who are eating lunch right now that are wanting to pay close attention, this is later this afternoon. This is the forecast we have on the weather radar that you can pay close attention to. So let's take a look at what it looks like throughout the evening as we get into the afternoon commute, as we get into the overnight. So this is dinner time. This is about 7 p.m. Pacific time. You can see some lightning happening here in the forecast. So possible thunderstorms happening here near Lake Tahoe and along the Donner Pass area, where we have some very heavy snowfall. Don't be surprised if you do have lightning and thunder snow happening in areas where you got the heavy snowfall. So that's where the biggest dynamics are happening. So the most impactful dynamics happening, you could have some thunder snow on top of that. So that's a possibility later on this evening as we've got these heavy, heavy snowfall rates. Look at how dark these are. The darker the pink, the heavier snowfall rates we have. And so this is why we're going to be seeing those 5 to 12-foot ranges of snowfall in the higher elevations, 1 to 4 feet in 1 to 4,000 foot elevations as well. So it's a very big system that's going to be just bringing a lot of snowfall. This is getting into later tonight, into very, very early Saturday morning. This thing just keeps on coming, where we've got heavy snowfall happening here, getting into the Great Basin as well, and some heavy rainfall here moving southward down into Southern California too. So we've got the need for umbrellas. We've got the need for emergency kits if you're going into the higher elevations as the snowfall does continue throughout the weekend. So this is noon lunchtime tomorrow on Saturday, and then 2 p.m. Saturday as well. And getting into Saturday afternoon, just keeps on coming. Like I said earlier, this system is going to last through Sunday, and it's just, that's why we're seeing those very, very high snowfall totals across the area, because this thing, it just has plenty of power that it's packing and plenty of moisture to work with. You're right on the coast, so you got plenty of moisture to work with and bringing it off the Pacific to just provide everything that it needed. You got the cold air, the moisture, so you got snow. It's happening here across the Sierra Nevada this weekend. Let me check for questions before I move on more. Awesome. All right. So this is getting into late tomorrow night. Snow just keeps on coming. And then by Sunday, let's show a bigger view of what that looks like here. West Coast is just not getting a break this weekend. So plan on staying inside with a good books, maybe some movies, coffee, hot chocolate. That's what this weekend is for. Maybe some spring cleaning indoors as well, just as we get into March, further into March here, just because the outside is not going to be very inviting this weekend, especially in the areas getting that heavy snowfall. So this is Sunday. It's just going to continue through Sunday evening. You can see here that the snowfall is starting to retreat northward as this system finally starts to wrap up. So northern Sierras are going to continue getting snowfall late Sunday night as this storm continues. However, we should see a wrap up of the main system in the Sierras by Monday. So this is Monday afternoon. This is lunchtime where we've got additional snow happening here across the Pacific Northwest into Northwest California, but at least the Sierras, we're really pulling out when it comes to that. So this very heavy snowfall event is going to be extensive, lasting through Sunday. And plenty of you who have been paying close attention to the forecast have seen this since the earlier portions of this week. Blizzard warnings have been issued since earlier this week, as well as winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories. So the information's been out there, and you can check the information too for frequent updates as well. So that brings us to the app essentials that you're going to need for this event. So those of you who have the Weather and Radar app already downloaded, awesome, great. The link to download, if somebody you know or maybe you don't already have it, is just in the description below. You can find it right below my video here. And so we are seeing, let me pull it up on my phone just so you can see exactly what we show. The app essentials that you're going to need for this event especially, not only include the weather radar and the wind radar, but we have coverage going on across all portions of our apps, including social media. So we have our hub where we're showing all the resources that you could possibly need for this kind of event, including how to turn on your app alerts. Those are essential when it comes to these big events, not just for this, but throughout the rest of the year and throughout the rest of the seasons that you're going to be seeing heavy rainfall, thunderstorms, things like that. So our Weather and Radar app shows a lot of information all at once that you can get right at your fingertips completely for free. And so you have the hourly forecast right there. You also have the weather radar happening. You got the next few days forecast as well, but then you got our hub. And if you click on the hub, we've got plenty of information here where we're talking about all of the impacts that are happening here across the area, but also plenty of links for you to get the information at your fingertips so you can stay safe from this situation. In addition to that, we also have our live blog going where we're doing frequent updates for any kind of impacts that we're seeing. So you got the gusty winds, the heavy snow. And I'll pull up now even what we have on that live blog, the information that we are seeing when it comes to gusty winds and heavy snowfall. The last 24 hours, look at Alpine Meadows. Last 24 hours, they have clocked 143-mile-per-hour gust. I mean, that's hurricane force. So this snowstorm is not, it's not a joke in the higher elevations. But even Donner and Blue Canyon, 56-mile-per-hour gust, 66-mile-per-hour gust. That is whipping that snow. And then the snowfall that's happened in the last 24 hours. Some places have been picking up an inch an hour, close to an inch an hour, due to this snowfall and this blizzard situation happening here across the Sierra. So 19.1 Sierra Snow Lab, 20 inches in the Sugar Bowl, and Palisades has 17 inches of snow. This thing just started yesterday morning. So we've still got plenty of time to pick up more snow across the whole weekend as the storm system just keeps on cranking. All right. I will double check for questions one more time before we close out here. Yes, thank you so much. And we are offering, so just so you all know, we are offering all this information too on our Spanish channel. So those of you who are Spanish users, please head over to the Spanish channel as well, and the social media as well, so you can see the impacts that are happening there, just available for you on the Spanish channel. So be sure to pay close attention to that. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you've learned what you need to get out of this situation. Be sure to download the app so you can get all the latest information too right at your fingertips, and stay safe out there. Thank you so much.